Lin Ke stroked his chin in thought and then asked, "Can you elaborate on the connection of all things?" An image appeared on the projector screen. Tian Yan pointed at the screen and explained, simply put, it will control the chips in household devices like computers, air conditioners, washing machines, and lights. Thus, an extremely intelligent and modern living model could be realized. Zai also said, "Next year, I plan to expand into international markets, turning Ling Yun Group into a world-class company." Lin Ke chuckled softly and asked, "This plan looks great in theory, but do you all know why I have invested so much effort studying the photolithography machine and the new ecosystem of phones?" Yuan, hearing this, pondered and then guessed, "Are you afraid that others will exploit your weaknesses?" Lin Ke, with a confident expression, replied, "Exactly, but for me, making money is important, but being aware of my mission is even more important." Having said that, he asked the whole room, "Let me pose a simple question to you all. What software is needed for graphics? What software is needed for finance? Is it all foreign software? If we become dependent, how will Ling Yun Group operate? Can any of you provide me with an answer?" The sudden question left everyone silent. Yuan said, "This." Then she hesitantly added, "Such a thing might not happen." Lin Ke disagreed, immediately arguing not happening doesn't mean it will never happen. Zai seemed a bit confused, asking, "Mr. Lin, do you mean that the development direction for next year will be based on these outdated projects as the core of development?" Lin Ke crossed his arms and replied, "The core isn't necessarily like these matters, but we must pay attention. A technology company must have the appearance it should have. We can't work just on faith. We still have to earn money." It seemed everyone understood. Tian Yan picked up the documents and stood up, saying, "I understand now, Mr. Lin. I will go back and perfect this plan." Zai added, "Then I will take it back to amend and report back in the next meeting." At this moment, Lin Ke looked towards Yuan and asked, "And you, do you have any issues to report?" Yuan clasped her hands together and said, "My plan for the new year is to get a raise." Lin Ke ignored Yuan's intention, waving his hand. "All right, the meeting is over." This statement made Yuan shed a tear of grievance. The morning sun shone on the building. Ru Yu came to bring him some water, gently asking, "How is the wound on your shoulder?" Lin Ke took the glass of water and replied, "As long as I don't do heavy work and rest for 8 to 10 days, it will be fine." Ru Yu sat down next to him, scolding, "From now on, you should stay here in Shanghai and not go anywhere. In case something happens, just make a phone call. Everything will be resolved in 10 minutes. Then there won't be so many incidents like this." Lin Ke drank some water and responded, "What you said isn't wrong, but if there's something I can handle myself, I shouldn't bother others." Ru Yu got flustered upon hearing this. "Do you consider me another person?" Lin Ke hugged her shoulders to comfort her. No, you are mine." Ru Yu pouted and turned her face away, grumbling, "Don't tease me anymore." Lin Ke explained, "Even though this situation was a bit unexpected, it doesn't mean that nothing can be achieved. If they are still part of the organization, then they are like a time bomb. Mr. Liu is probably waiting for the right moment to overthrow the Wang family. Aside from Mr. Liu, it's a good thing for the Liang family and for me." Hearing this, she asked, Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Could there be anything suspicious about your company now and the people around?" Lin Ke replied, "If something happens, will you still be able to stay calm here with me?" But then he worriedly rubbed his chin and said, "It's been many days, and there hasn't been any news from the Wang family. I feel a bit uneasy." Ru Yu raised her hand for a comment. "Putting everything else aside, I can guarantee that the Wang family will definitely not let it rest. The longer we wait, the greater the threat to you will be." Lin Ke praised her, "Smart, so during this time, don't cause any trouble, handle your matters well, and don't give them any opportunities." Ru Yu kissed him and replied, "Yes, I understand." The two shared a passionate kiss, and the scene shifted to Lin Ke and King Ren walking side by side, pushing his shopping cart in the supermarket. Lin Ke complained because he had bought too many things. "Why does it feel like we came to buy groceries to avoid danger?" Seeing this, his girlfriend comforted him, mainly because the fridge at home is empty. "When you're not home, going to the supermarket isn't interesting. It's just a formality. It only makes sense if the two of us go together." He smiled and remarked, "Formality? The children of wealthy families really are different." The two men finally made it down to the basement where the car was parked. Lin Ke staggered as he carried heavy boxes into their blue trunk while King Ren stood behind, casually observing and encouraging him. "Mr. Lin, you've worked hard." Once the items were neatly organized, Lin Ke sighed, sweat rolling down. He ran his hand through his hair, his face showing signs of fatigue. Suddenly, he felt something was off in his body. He took off his shirt to check the wound on his right shoulder. Despite being well bandaged, the wound had torn, blood soaking through the bandage. He cursed under his breath, "Damn it, the wound has split open." As King Ren approached the car and noticed Lin Ke's strange demeanor, she asked, "What's wrong?" He quickly adjusted his clothes to cover up the condition of his wound and replied, "It's nothing. Let's just drive home." The two opened the car doors, and while they were on the other side of the entrance, King Ren suggested, "Since we were so tired yesterday, let's take it easy today. I'll help you prepare a welcome home dinner." After getting into the car, Lin Ke sent a message to Shen Tianzuo saying, "Call me in half an hour and tell me to go to the hospital for overtime." After sending the message, once everything had settled, he smiled brightly at King Ren and said, "Let's go." She agreed, "Sure, let's go." Moments later, the car arrived in front of their luxurious villa. Just then, Lin Ke's phone rang. He just thought to himself, the scientist's rigor must be precise down to the second. Then he answered the phone. "Hello, is there a problem that can't be solved?" "All right, I'll be over shortly." Meanwhile, his girlfriend was staring intently. After ending the call, she immediately asked, "Who called?" Lin Ke replied in a low voice, "Boss Shen said there's a bit of an issue with the experiment, and he needs me to come over." King Ren showed clear concern and asked, "With so many people in the lab, couldn't anyone handle it without calling you?" Lin Ke gently rubbed her head, reassuring her, "It's just one of those situations. The issue with the photolithography machine and the chip has already been mentioned in the schedule. And in the lab, apart from Boss Shen, my technical skills are the best. If there is a problem, it's natural for them to call me." King Ren conceded, "All right, it's just a meal. We can always eat later. It's fine." He kissed her lightly on the forehead, promising softly, "It won't take long. I'll be back soon. When I return, I'll bring the things inside." She got out of the car and waved goodbye. "Drive carefully." At the provincial hospital, Gao Xin was tending to Lin Ke's wounds. Seeing his condition was quite serious, she anxiously asked, "How did this happen?" He gently explained to soothe her. "It was just an unexpected incident, but it's not too serious. There's no need to be so flustered." Even so, she carefully reminded him, "You have to pay special attention from now on. Don't engage in intense activities or lift heavy objects. If this happens again, the wound could get infected." While speaking, she bandaged him up. Once finished, he stood up to put his shirt back on and assured her, "I understand." Then he added, "By the way, can you get me some cough suppressant and gauze? I need to take them with me." After receiving the items, Lin Ke asked for permission. "I'll just take a little time since I'm already here." At the research institute, it was a tall building, and the color of the sunset made it even more radiant. Lin Ke entered through the glass front door and saw a female staff member with a high bun still working, holding a pastry for dinner. He unexpectedly asked, "It's so late. Are you still busy?" The girl exclaimed upon seeing him, "Boss." Then, while chewing her food, she explained, "There's a bug in the program. I'm still handling it." Meanwhile, Lin Ke looked around as if searching for someone and asked, "Why are you the only one here? Where is Boss Shen?" The girl replied, "Boss Shen went to Yanjing, saying he wanted to meet some old friends to discuss the new generation photolithography machine. Are you here to see Boss Shen? Do you need me to call him?" Lin Ke declined, "No need." Then he asked, "Can I sleep here for one night? Does Boss Shen's office have a bed?" The staff member, upon hearing this, teased him, "You are hiding from the boss because you did something shameful, are you?" He scratched his neck awkwardly and replied vaguely, "It's a long story." In the evening at the luxurious house of King Ren, she was on the phone with a friend, sounding quite down. Yuan, do you have time? Come have dinner with me." Boss Shen called Lin Ke over for overtime, and I don't want to cook anymore. On the other end, Yuan, holding a hot cup of coffee and preparing to take a sip, wondered, Boss Shen went on a business trip to Yanjing. How could he call him over for overtime? Hearing this, King Ren panicked and exclaimed, "Boss Shen went to Yanjing." King Ren eagerly called Lin Ke. As soon as she heard him pick up the phone, she immediately asked, "Is the lab busy?" Lin Ke explained the situation. "There was a minor error that we're still dealing with. I probably won't be able to come home tonight, so you don't need to wait for me." After saying that, he hung up, leaving King Ren alone with her growing doubts. She wondered, is he lying to me? At that moment, Yuan rushed in with a very worried expression, calling out, "Senior sister." King Ren, with tears in her eyes, whispered, Yuan. Then she stood up suddenly, hugged her sister tightly, and said with a choked voice, "I think he has another woman outside and doesn't love me anymore." Yuan quickly comforted her, trying to ease the situation. "Don't cry anymore, senior sister. I don't think that's the case. Look around at the women in Ling Yun. Who can compare to you? How could he possibly find someone else?" She embraced King Ren's arm and added comforting words. "Let's go to the research institute to find him. We can clear things up." However, King Ren immediately declined. "No, I can't do that. It's normal for him to feel that way. Once the novelty wears off, interest naturally fades." Yuan resolutely suggested, "All right, we don't need to conclude too quickly without knowing the truth. Let's wait another day to see how the situation develops. She softly added, I can't go out like this and come back in the same way. I'll stay at your place for a night and we can go to work together tomorrow. King Ren still sobbed in response. The next day, Yuan was dressed neatly, looking anxious as she paced back and forth to the office. She folded her arms across her chest, deep in thought. Even though the boss is a bit devious, he really is doing well with the senior sister. How could something like this happen? In the midst of this, a female staff member with blonde hair knocked on the door, reporting to her. Ms. He, Sin Ho Airlines sent the ticket invoice. Yuan was confused and confirmed. The invoice for the plane ticket is for Boss Shen, right? But the staff member replied differently. It's for Mr. Lin. Hearing this, Yuan snatched the information and screamed, Mr. Lin's plane ticket? He took a private jet, so why would there be a plane ticket? The girl was slightly taken aback, and at that moment, someone called Yuan's phone. It was Jai King Ren. Yuan accepted the call and relayed, Senior sister, I received a ticket invoice from Bing Cheng to Shanghai for the boss. The date is recorded as December 3rd, which means he returned a day earlier. King Ren frowned and replied coldly, I know. After saying that, she angrily kicked the desk hard with her shoe, causing everything on it to shake violently. She yelled loudly, Trap boy, I'm not doing it anymore. That evening at the villa, King Ren burst into the house with a pile of products bought from the supermarket. Lin Ke teased her, Do you bring the entire mall home? King Ren bluntly replied, I just changed my luggage and bought what I thought looked nice. At this moment, he announced a routine piece of news. By the way, I still have a little work that I need to discuss with them. As he spoke, he was massaging his neck. King Ren sulkily said, Go ahead, I need to try on clothes too. Watching his back as he left, she sadly thought, It's already past 10 o'clock. What else could he possibly need to handle? If it were before, he definitely wouldn't act like this. He'd stay here and watch me change. Late at night, when Lin Ke was about to turn the round doorknob, he hesitated, grabbing his shoulder and thinking to himself, Forget it. If she sees the injury, she would worry to death. I'll wait a few more days. He then knocked on the door and called out from outside, I have some business to attend to in Dongxian district. If there's anything, please contact me by phone. She heard this and reluctantly advised, Be careful on the road. Lin Ke sighed and helplessly laughed. It seems you're not very happy. It's understandable since I just got back and now I'm leaving again. It's normal to feel unhappy. The sound of a car starting outside the window was loud. King Ren, holding her phone, sat curled up in her bedroom, looking very lonely. She picked up the phone and called Yuan, come to Kyushu residence, help me move. Yuan was confused and kept asking, Move? What exactly happened? Why are you moving? She stammered, Lin Ke doesn't need me anymore. The suitcase was already packed in the trunk of the car. Yuan closed the trunk and anxiously asked King Ren, Senior sister, where are you planning to go now? To Uncle and Aunt's place? She replied, Just go home like this. They will definitely be very worried. You can take me to a hotel or something. The two of them quickly set off on their way, and after a while, seeing a strange place, King Ren asked, Where is this? Are we out of the city? Yuan lightly laughed and replied, I've already checked this hotel. The boss is in Dong County, so we're going straight there. King Ren immediately stopped her. Listen to me, go back. I really don't want to confront him. Yuan, not backing down, shouted, No, I have to be him. How can he live so carefree like this? It has to be clarified. She lowered her voice firmly. Even if we break up, we still have to go there and make everything clear. If we go now, who knows, we might catch him in the act. Damn it, when I see him, I have to slap him once. Yuan's attitude made King Ren feel sad, and she could only remain silent. At the Four Seas Hotel in Dongsan District, a magnificent and luxurious hotel resembling a castle, in the hotel lobby, Yuan angrily approached the front desk and asked, There's a person named Lin Ke who has a reservation here, right? The receptionist politely refused, I'm sorry, but according to our policy, we cannot disclose customer information. Seeing this, Yuan threw a stack of money in front of the girl and said strongly, This is $3,000. If you cooperate with me, this place will be yours. The employee looked surprised. The girl glanced around to see if anyone was watching and whispered inquiringly, What do you want me to do? Yuan proposed, I want his room key just for a little while. The receptionist quickly handed over what she wanted and whispered, If anyone asks, don't say it's me. Yuan assured, Don't worry, I know this little principal. Then she reached out to take the card. She and King Ren approached room 408, where Lin Ke was staying. Yuan stood in front, arms crossed, looking very determined as she said, Senior sister, are you ready? King Ren stood behind, holding her arm, fearfully trying to stop her. I don't want to go, let's leave. Yuan turned around abruptly, a bit annoyed, and asked, We've come this far, where else can we go? We have to settle the score with him, so he knows we are not easy to bully. Saying that, she used the card to automatically open the door. As she opened it, she said, "You're too kind. That's why he can bully you. Today, I must help you seek justice." The door swung open, and Yuan observed seriously, while King Ren shrank back behind her. But the scene before them surprised both girls, making their eyes go wide. Lin Ke was sitting in the room, grimacing in pain as a doctor next to him cleaned and disinfected his wounds. Below was a nurse assisting him. Seeing the two of them, he asked in confusion, "Why are you two here?" King Ren didn't pay attention, pointed at his shoulder and eagerly asked, "What's this?" Lin Ke gently rubbed his arm and explained, "When I was traveling northeast, something unexpected happened, but it's fine now. I changed the medicine in time." But that still didn't satisfy her. King Ren angrily scolded, "Don't lie to me. What exactly happened?" He finally couldn't hide it anymore and had to confess. "I went hunting with some leaders from the Agricultural Research Institute and accidentally got shot." She still worriedly asked, "It's been so long, and the wound is still like this. Which hospital did the surgery for you?" Lin Ke replied, "A few days ago, when I went to the supermarket with you, I moved some things and the wound got torn. I went to the hospital for a checkup and it still hasn't healed up." At this moment, King Ren's eyes were filled with tears. She wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes and emotionally asked, "So you were avoiding me these past few days so I wouldn't find out?" Lin Ke gently said, "Of course. I didn't want you to worry." Suddenly he spoke up, "But I'm curious, why did you two come over here at midnight?" Causing King Ren to turn pale in panic, Yuan quickly intervened. "We were out having dinner together, just chatting idly, and suddenly wanted to come here to see you, also to check on you a bit." The nurse finished the remaining work that the doctor had not completed. In the meantime, Lin Ke grimaced from the pain of his wound and suggested, "Just find a place to sit down. I'll finish applying the medicine first." King Ren moved closer to him, lightly scolding, "You got hurt, but still went to the supermarket with me that day. You could have found a reason to decline." He took her hand and comforted her. "Didn't you say you needed a sense of ritual? I didn't want to refuse." Yuan waved goodbye and joked, all right. You two keep expressing your feelings. I'm off now." Lin Ke replied irritably, "Goodbye. You should go home earlier. Don't come here causing trouble." King Ren chased after her, saying, Yuan, wait a moment. I have something to discuss with you." She sincerely expressed regret. "This is my fault." Yuan scratched her head and chuckled. "Good thing I reacted quickly earlier, otherwise we would have been done for." King Ren handed her the villa key and instructed, "This is the villa key. Please find someone to help me move the stuff back." Hearing this, Yuan said in disappointment, Senior sister, you changed too quickly." Then she happily set off, waving goodbye to her sister. "Well, I'm leaving first. You two enjoy your precious spring night moment together." King Ren blushed and murmured, "You?" The next morning, the two returned home, and King Ren looked a bit tired. She rolled her shoulders and said, "Finally, we're back home." The hotel in Dong County was really uncomfortable. Seeing her boyfriend standing still, she asked, "What are you doing standing there? Why don't you go to the room?" Lin Ke replied in confusion, I just feel like our home is different from before. Did we get robbed? I think I noticed that things in the house have been moved." His question seemed to hit a nerve with his girlfriend, and she was startled. King Ren quickly made up a reason to distract him. "I had some free time yesterday, so I rearranged a few things. I didn't realize there were so many things we didn't use, so I looked for a truck to throw some of it away." Lin Ke still seemed a bit suspicious, but replied, "Is that so?" She quickly pushed her boyfriend inside and asked, "All right, don't ask any more. Are you thirsty? I'll get you some water. By the way, I'm planning to go shopping tomorrow." Lin Ke asked back, "We've already gone shopping twice before, haven't we?" She poured a glass of water, placed it on the table for her boyfriend, and sat beside him watching him drink. She said, "Ning Yu is getting married. Uncle and aunt are coming to the wedding. Of course, we have to make sure they dress nicely, and there are also kids at the orphanage, so we need to pay some attention to them too." Lin Ke just lifted the glass of water to his mouth and said, "Have you bought anything for them yet? Since we're attending the wedding, we can't let ourselves look bad. We should dress up a bit." He set the glass of water down and continued, "You've been handling work at the company these past few days. Afterward, we can go back to Yangcheng to buy clothes and a house. There are still many things waiting for us." Hearing this, King Ren replied, "I know, I'll hurry up and should be done by tomorrow. We can leave the day after." King Ren suddenly remembered something and turned to him, asking, "I heard from Yuan that there's a wine banquet held by Ling Yun Group tomorrow. It seems like it's for the partners. Are you going?" Lin Ke shifted closer and draped his arm over her shoulder. He smiled and said, "I remember now. Kat mentioned it to me, but I don't think it's anything interesting, so I don't want to go." "You want to go?" Hearing him say this, she replied, "If you're going, then I want to go with you. If you're not going, then I won't go either. That's right, husband and wife should be together. Now, let's have a kiss, he said. Then he gave her a peck on the cheek, and after that, they both leaned in to kiss each other. Cotton and antiseptic were spread all over the table. As King Ren was using cotton to treat his wound, he turned to her and said, "How about I do it myself?" She replied, "Don't worry about me. I've never done this before. I just need a little time to get used to it." The phone on the table suddenly rang. Not knowing what the person on the other end was saying, Lin Ke panicked and raised her voice. "Where are you ladies? I'm coming over now." He quickly put on his jacket and said to her, "I have to go out for a bit." King Ren, hearing this, asked worriedly, "What happened?" "There are 2 foreigners at tonight's party who dared to be rude to Yuan and Tian Yan. I need to see what's going on," he said, anxiously putting on his suit. The scene shifted to the security room, where Zhou Zikang pointed ahead and said, "These 2 are in charge of this project. I believe this approach has tarnished the company's image. I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation. As the lawyer for Cisco Company, I must clarify that Mr. Deng was just trying to invite her for a drink earlier. He didn't expect her to hit him. Such behavior is truly unacceptable. Therefore, we must hold you accountable," the lawyer stated as he gestured toward the side. Next to him was Deng Jia, vice president of Cisco Company. Yuan was furious after hearing this and yelled, "You talk nonsense. We're embracing my waist and you say it's simple, huh? Ms. He, I hope you pay attention to your words. We are only following the law and have not engaged in any unreasonable behavior. It was your side that was at fault first," the lawyer said as he adjusted his glasses, calmly warning her. Upon hearing this, Zikang pointed at him and said, "Regarding this matter, our Ling Yun group will absolutely not back down. No matter what, we will go to the end." He put his hands in his pockets and replied smugly, "All right then, we'll meet in court at that time. There's no evidence at the scene." Suddenly, the door burst open. Lin Ke, King Ren, and the lawyer walked in. Yuan was delighted to see him and called out, "Mr. Lin." Then King Ren rushed over to Yuan, took her hand and asked, "How are you? Are you hurt?" Yuan quickly replied, "I'm fine. I just slapped him once." Then Brother Ke called the police. "Mr. Lin, hello. I am Lev Lamantov, the general manager of Cisco Company. It's a pleasure to meet you." He extended his hand for a handshake while introducing himself. But Lin replied, "No handshakes, please." He gently and directly refused his handshake, saying, "Generally speaking, how would you handle situations like this?" He looked at the lawyer next to him and asked, "According to the legal regulations, they will be detained for 72 hours to gather more evidence and then make a decision." The lawyer, hearing his question, replied, "That's correct." Lin Ke raised his hand and unknowing said, "There's no need to complicate things like that. Let them go, let them go." The lawyer, not understanding his statement, asked, "Let them go?" He thought to himself, "After all, you are a well-known enterprise. This will be very embarrassing." The lawyer held the paper in his hand and turned to Lamantov, saying, "Just sign this paper in a moment." He replied, "Your boss knows that too. He knows how to handle this matter." Lin Ke made a call to someone, his face scrunching up as he said, "Are you all set? The person is about to go outside. If it's a foreigner, just beat them. Break a leg, no need to go easy." Hearing him, he was astonished, gritting his teeth speechless. After he hung up, he quickly came over, sneering, "Everything has been resolved. You can go. We will not pursue this matter any further." He pointed at him, panic-stricken, and replied, "What did you just say? Break our legs?" Lin Ke raised his hand, appearing innocent as he replied, No, I didn't mention any of you. But I must remind you all that the security at night is not very good. When you go outside, be careful." Lamantov, furious, darkened his face and shouted, blaming him, "It's clearly your arrangement." He stepped closer to the man and said, "It's best if you keep quiet. Otherwise, you won't be able to get out of this door." Lin Ke was in a dangerous situation standing in front of him, causing the man to fear and step back. Ding Xin, standing nearby, watched with great admiration. "Mr. Lin is really manly. Let's go. No need to pay attention to these people. Someone will come to handle them soon." After saying that to him, he turned and left. Hearing him say that, everyone was delighted and shouted, "Yes." A week later, at the new orphanage Yangcheng, the car stopped. Lin Ke and his wife got out of the car and immediately heard a woman's voice calling, "Sister-in-law, brother." It was Quoning Yu, who ran up to hug King Ren, happily saying, "Sister-in-law, I missed you a lot." Seeing this affectionate scene before him, Lin Ke felt uncomfortable and shouted, "After all, I am your brother. Why don't you hug me first? My sister-in-law bought you dowry gifts. You didn't buy me anything, so why should I hug you?" As she walked in, she continued to badmouth her brother in front of her sister-in-law. "Come in quickly. The food has been prepared already," an older woman said to the 3 people in front of her. The food was already laid out on the table, looking very appetizing and probably delicious. Lin Ke had sat down at the dining table and turned to his mother, asking, "Mom, Had all the necessary items for the wedding been prepared? His mother replied, "It's all ready. We just need to wait for the wedding." But the girl said there's a set of clothes that she still hasn't bought. She said she was waiting for you to go see it with her. It's Soo-hee. Quoting you reminded her. Sister-in-law, when we welcome the guests, I plan to work Soo-hee. Will you go with me then? The gaze of our mother, I can't believe it. Ning Yu turned to suggest to King Ren. Upon hearing this, she immediately agreed. You just choose the time. I'll go with you. Lin Ke's mother, hearing her daughter say that, smiled and said, Daughter-in-law, this matter needs you to go with her to choose the clothes. While they were chatting happily, suddenly there was a loud noise. Someone slammed their chopsticks down on the bowl on the table, seeming very annoyed. How many years has she raised it? And every day she urges these two to get married as if she's sick. The man who broke the bowl stood up and spoke loudly. King Ren saw him leaving and immediately asked, Uncle Zhao, what's wrong? Everyone turned their heads to follow him, and Lin Ke's mother placed shrimp on her daughter-in-law's plate, happily saying, Don't mind him, eat the shrimp. It's very fresh. Ignoring the man, everyone continued to eat heartily. Wu Fei Yao held a glass of water and looked at Yu, saying, These days, our dad has been like this. The people in the hospital have also been scolded by him. She sighed and replied, I'm not even married far away, still in Yangcheng. Why does our dad think so much? It will be fine after a while, Lin Ke said. Right. Ignore him. Mom will handle it soon. She also echoed her son, reassuring everyone. There were still plenty of shrimp, crabs, and seafood on the table, not diminishing much. He placed his hand on Fei Yao's shoulder, pointed to the door, and said, I'm too full now, let's go. Come with me for a walk. Okay. He immediately agreed, and both walked out for a stroll together. Fei Yao saw the car in front and suddenly stood still. Xiao Lin, is this your car? As soon as she finished speaking, he quickly replied, Yes, I had it for a long time. I brought it here to use as a wedding car. Do you want to drive a couple of laps? If you like it, I'll let you have this car. He put his arm around his shoulder and with the other hand, pulled out the keys to give them to him. Nonsense, you drive a truck and now you want to drive this, but what will come of it? Fei Yao heard and awkwardly declined. Lin Ke asked, How have you been lately? Any updates on the big marriage issue? I met someone recently, but we haven't checked the fortune, so I'm not in a hurry, Fei Yao replied. The two of them chatted casually about life as they walked. Hearing that his brother had a love interest, he raised an eyebrow and asked, Who is it? And what does she do? He works in a lumber mill and delivers for people. Their family runs a car wash nearby. She goes there. So we might have met, Fei Yao said, raising his hand to his neck, feeling uneasy. Lin Ke eagerly put his arm around his shoulder and continued. What you said is interesting. Let's go check it out. Check what? It's already late, he responded when he heard Lin Ke say that. Late? Who else do you want to meet? It's just past 8 o'clock. What's there to be afraid of? Just right. The car is dirty. Let's go wash it. Lin Ke pulled Fei Yao along, arguing his point as they walked. The night cloaked the Singlong lumber mill in Yangcheng City. It was getting dark, and at that moment it was incredibly beautiful. The stars sparkled across the vast sky. The three-person family was having dinner together when the brown-haired woman pointed at the girl across from her and said, Daughter, I've noticed you've been spending time with that truck driver lately. Is there something you're hiding from me? Sun Lai Lai heard her mother say this and immediately replied, What could we possibly be hiding, Mom? What do you think of that guy? She continued, You chose carefully. You could have found someone with a stable home. Lai Lai sighed, waved her hand, and glanced away, saying, Look at me. How could someone with a stable home find me attractive? Suddenly, she remembered something and said, But I heard he has a younger brother in Shanghai, and I've heard that he's quite wealthy. Her father, hearing this, turned to her mother and said, A person like you should be careful. Make sure Lai Lai doesn't get tricked. He picked up some food and said, If his brother has so much money, why is he still doing odd jobs and delivering goods? Just be careful not to get deceived. Lai Lai, hearing her father's words, also retorted, Mom and Dad, you don't understand Wu Fei Yao. He's not that kind of person. Suddenly, a white car drove up and parked near where the three were sitting. The car's headlights shone directly in her face, making her feel very uncomfortable. She covered her face with her hands and complained, Damn it, don't you know to turn on the high beams? From the car, someone opened the door and got out. It was Lin Ke and Wu Fei Yao. Seeing them arrive, she immediately stood up and happily asked, Why did you come here? She walked over to Fei Yao and Lin Ke. Fei Yao pointed at Lin Ke and said, My brother came back. He insisted on seeing you, and I couldn't stop him, so we came here together. Lin Ke held a gift bag in his hand, politely handed it to her, and smiled. Hello, sister-in-law. This is our first meeting, and I bought you some things. Behind them, Lai Lai's father looked at the three of them with a puzzling gaze. He thought to himself, It must be worth more than 5,000. Is his brother that rich? Meanwhile, Lai Lai was opening the gift. The item in her hand seemed very expensive, so she hesitated and awkwardly replied, "This is too expensive. Please take it back. We can't accept it." Lin Ke calmly replied, "It's not worth that much. Just take it." Fa Yao also added, "Just accept it. This is my brother. I mentioned him to you before. He runs a company in Shanghai and is the most promising one among us." Hearing this, she gradually became more relaxed. She pointed towards the inside and said, "Younger brother, drive the car in so I can wash it for you." He heard her say that and immediately waved his hands in refusal. "How can I let you wash the car for me?" She quickly replied, "You don't need to be so courteous." Suddenly, her father rushed over from somewhere, speaking loudly enough for her to turn her head and look. "Daughter, we can't wash this car." He placed his hand on the roof of the car, gently touching it before saying, "It has to go to a professional place to be washed. Look at this paint job. You can tell at first glance it's high quality. Young man, your car is not cheap. It must be at least a few $1 million," he said after observing the car for a while. Upon hearing a few $1 million, Lai Lai behind them was also taken aback, her mouth agape. He winked, raised one hand to his wrist, and with the other, held up a finger saying, "Add one more number." $10 million, he exclaimed dramatically after hearing what the man said. Lai Lai was also astonished, covering her mouth with her hand, stuttering, "Oh my God, is it really that expensive?" Lin Ke touched his beloved car, proudly stating, "The car itself isn't that expensive. It's mainly due to the limited quantity. There is only one, so it's a bit pricier." He raised his hand to his neck, apologetically responding, "This is such a good car, we can't dare to wash it for you." Mr. Sun pointed towards the garage and said, "Please come inside. Please come inside." He immediately replied, "Yes." After the second day at the orphanage, King Ren approached, threw off the blanket he was under, and said loudly, "Get up now." Meanwhile, he was still lying on the bed, wrapping his arms around his body and said, "It's still early." She frowned and said, "It's already past 8 o'clock. The food must be ready by now. There are so many things waiting for us today." He sat up, reached for the shirt she handed him and said, "Didn't you promise Ning Yu to go look at dresses?" And Z was with her. She waved the shirt in her hand and replied, "Today we are going to look at houses. If we have time, we can go look at clothes in the afternoon." She turned to leave, then turned back to remind him, "Don't waste any more time. Hurry up." Meanwhile, he was still fumbling with his suit jacket. At the Yunshan International Business Office in Yangcheng in the morning, the sunlight shone down on the building, very pleasant. Both of them went inside. She was linking arms with him, pointing out, "I checked online and found the location quite nice. Everything seems pretty good. You should go take a look. If you have no objections, we can finalize it." Suddenly, a voice called out, surprising both of them, "Lin Ke." She is Yang Liu, Lin Ke's high school classmate. She brushed her hair back, looked at him and said, "I didn't expect to run into you in Yangcheng." He propped himself up, recollected some old memories, and questioned, "Are you Yang Liu?" King Ren stood there, not understanding anything, and asked, "Do you two know each other?" Lin Ke pointed at the girl in front of him and introduced, "This is my high school classmate. I never expected to meet her here." Hearing this, she turned to him and whispered, "Your high school classmate isn't your first love, is she?" Lin Ke helplessly waved his fan and explained, "When I was in school, I was someone who didn't care about the outside world. I was a good student, focused only on my studies. How could I have engaged in frivolous things like that?" Yang Liu spoke up and asked, "You two are here to look at houses, right?" "That's right, we came to look at houses," Lin Ke quickly replied. Yang Liu looked at King Ren in front of her and subtly evaluated. "So he likes this type. Back when we were in school, I wrote him so many love letters, and he didn't care about me at all." She crossed her arms and smiled, asking, "You said that after graduating, you've always been in Shanghai. Why are you buying a house in Yangcheng? Is it because the pressure in Shanghai is too great?" He asked back in confusion. "It's just buying a house. What does it have to do with pressure?" Upon hearing this, she couldn't help but laugh helplessly, pointing ahead and saying, "Haha, you two can go see the houses in the third phase of the Yunshan International area. They are currently being built on an installment plan, which will be much cheaper than other commercial properties on sale, and the prices are very reasonable." "Zhao Yang, do you know these two guests?" A man wearing glasses stepped forward to ask her. It was Zhao Ping, the team leader of the sales team. Yang Liu didn't bother to look at him and reply, "He is my high school classmate." Hearing this, he continued, "Since you know each other, you can take charge of these two guests." She resolutely waved her hand to refuse. "I'm afraid I can't. My boyfriend is coming here soon, so I may not have time." As soon as she finished speaking, the door of the building opened and a man stepped in, raising his hand and saying, "Honey, I'm here." Yang Liu immediately ran over, wrapped her arms around him, and smiled as she introduced, "Lin Ke, let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Du-ming. Lin Ke on this side, after hearing this, didn't know what to say, just silently watched the two of them embrace. She continued pointing at him and said, "He is my high school classmate named Lin Ke. The person next to him is his girlfriend. She used to work in Shanghai, and I didn't expect to meet her here." Hearing his girlfriend, he also curiously asked, "Why did you come to Yangcheng to buy a house from Shanghai?" When she heard her boyfriend ask that, she covered her mouth in fiend reproach, saying, "Why did you have to ask such a question that touches someone's sore spot?" After saying that, she continued to explain her thoughts. Because the pressure in Shanghai is too great, an ordinary house costs more than several $100,000. It's a place where ordinary people can live, so why can't they manage? So it's normal to buy a house in Yangcheng. Lin Ke's face darkened as he glanced away. He thought, "I never realized before how disgusting women can be, putting on a show from the get-go." Lin Ke looked at Zhao Ping, who suggested, "Team leader of my boyfriend is also going to view a house. Please find someone else to attend to them." Zhao Ping quickly replied, "You go ahead with your work. Conveniently, I am also free, so I can serve these two customers." Yang Liu turned around, waved goodbye to everyone, and left. "We'll go ahead. As for the price, I will definitely give you the best deal. You can rest assured." None of her words received a response. Both Lin Ke and King Ren were indifferent and let it pass in silence. He looked over at Zhao Ping and said, "Take us to 3 Phase to have a look." He smiled with narrowed eyes and pointed the way. "Sure, please follow me." Both of them followed him to 3 Phase. King Ren turned to ask him, "Are we supposed to buy a villa? Why are we looking at those mid-range houses?" He looked at her and softly replied, "Recently, his older brother has gotten to know a girlfriend. He feels it's quite nice. They are not young anymore. If they want things to go smoothly, they need to consider marriage. He wants to buy a house as a gift for him." He turned to her and said, King Ren's face showed clear signs of worry as she said, "That doesn't seem quite right, does it? He buys a villa for Ning Yu, but gives his brother a regular house. He must have thought about this step." He quickly responded, "If I buy him a regular house, he might not even accept it, let alone a villa. If not, he wouldn't be working as a delivery driver now." She listened and began to understand, then laughed and replied cheerfully, "Haha, you make a good point." The 3 of them arrived at the 3 Phase area, where there were models. The buildings were very attractively arranged. They both looked around at all the buildings here, thinking. King Ren looked at the models below and thoughtfully replied, "The residential area in 3 Phase, whether in terms of design or location, just feels a bit off." Lin Ke heard her say that and agreed, adding, "The amenities around it are also not great. Forget it. Let's not look anymore." Zhao Ping saw that the 2 of them intended to leave and asked, "Aren't you going to check anymore?" He shook his head and replied, "I don't think the location is really good, so I'm not going to check anymore." Zhao Ping held a stack of papers in his hand, pointed to a spot, and said, "Sir, how about you check the 1 Phase area? They are all apartments with sizes ranging from medium to large with various types from 98 square meters to 328 square meters. How much space do you want to buy? I will advise you. What do you both think of these apartments? Do you like any of them? I will provide more detailed information." Zhao Ping provided very thorough advice to the 2 of them. Meanwhile, Yang Liu scoffed and said, "Haha, you guys actually want to see the large apartments in the 1 Phase area." Lin Ke looked around and said, "Where is your villa? Take us to see it." Upon hearing this, Zhao Ping also opened his eyes wide and asked in surprise, "See the villa?" Yang Liu and Du-ning also heard this and looked over in astonishment. However, Zhao Ping directed them. "The villa display area is on the 2nd floor. If you both want to see it, I can take you there." King Ren linked his arm with his and walked along. He turned to say to him, "All right, let's go see it." He was surprised to hear this. Originally, he was just stating what was appropriate for his job, but he didn't expect that he would actually agree. As she passed by Yang Liu, she arrogantly crossed her arms and said, "Lin Ke, we are all classmates. Everyone can understand situations like this. Don't waste our team leader's time anymore." Lin Ke replied, "Why should I perform in front of you? Are you as beautiful as my girlfriend?" Hearing him say that, King Ren also smirked, awkwardly brushing her hair. Yang Liu was extremely angry at that moment, clenching her fists. Her boyfriend beside her placed a hand on her shoulder to reassure her, saying, "All right, there's no need to pay attention to him." She looked at the backs of the 2 of them and gritted her teeth, concluding, "When we were in school, I didn't realize you would still pretend like this. You really have no sense." Du-ning saw them going up to the 2nd floor and pointed out, "So your villa is up on the 2nd floor. He suddenly remembered something and turned to say, "Oh right, when I arrived earlier, I saw a very fancy car parked out front." Upon hearing this, she frowned and asked, "Your family has a car too. What kind of car makes you so excited?" Du-ming stepped forward and said, If you add up all the cars my family has, it wouldn't equal the price of even a quarter of someone else's car. Hearing this, she replied unexpectedly, then it must be that today's client is a wealthy person. There are footsteps coming down from the second floor. He said, Mr. Lin, take your time. Be careful on the stairs. It was Lin Ke and King Ren coming down. Zhao Ping's attitude was completely different from earlier, being very attentive to the two of them. Duning looked at them and said, aren't we here to see the villa? Why are you coming down so quickly? Yang Liu, over here, scoffed, laughed, and said, the villas from our company are very famous in Yangchang. A simple one costs at least $2 to $3 million. At that price, it might scare you to death. Zhao Ping handed a blue business card to him and said, Mr. Lin, this is my contact information. If you have any requests in the future, just call me directly. Yang Liu and her boyfriend stepped forward and said, team leader, that's enough. I feel like they won't be coming back anymore. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ping yelled loudly, shut up. Apologize to Mr. Lin right now. Being shouted at like this, she was quite scared, her face turning pale. Zhao Ping continued, Mr. Lin just spent $100 million to buy one of our villas. Tell me, shouldn't you apologize to them? Everyone felt extremely pleased, as if they were watching a great performance. Yang Liu and her boyfriend were very surprised and shouted, what are you talking about, team leader? Did he buy the biggest villa in the Yunshan International Area? She didn't believe it and pointed at his face, saying, aren't you living in Shanghai very poorly? That's why you're here to buy a house? Why? Lin Ke felt very annoyed and replied, who said I had to live in poverty in Shanghai? He sneered and continued, I came here to buy a house as my younger sister's dowry. What does that have to do with being poor? Zhao Ping pointed at her and said, apologize to Lin right now. She had no choice but to comply, stammering, Lin Ke, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He turned around, smugly saying, did you not realize that I have a lot of money? This left her speechless, and Zhao Ping pointed at the backs of the two of them, saying, hurry and send Lin off. Fortunately, you are classmates with him. Such a great opportunity, and you don't know how to take advantage of it. Hearing that, she quickly responded, yes, I understand now. The door of the building opened and a car zoomed past, startling them and making them step back. It's Lin Ke. Seeing the person in the car surprised them even more. Tuning shouted, pointing at the car, buying a house worth over $100 million and driving a car worth over $10 million. What exactly does this classmate of mine do to have so much money? Seeing the car drive away right in front of her, Yang Liu shouted angrily, if I had known earlier, I would have seduced him. Why should it be your turn? A new day dawned with sunlight shining in the tranquil space, making the atmosphere even brighter. Inside the house, a woman's voice rang out. You're back. Are you hungry? Lin Ke approached and said, why did you buy so much meat, Ma? Hearing this, Wang Kuai-ping replied, that girl Ning Yu invited a few friends over. She said they were decorating the wedding room and is busy upstairs. Jake King Ren, standing nearby, chimed in, I want to go take a look. Lin Ke held Qing Ren's hand tightly. He took her hand and they left, chatting as they went. You want to go see the excitement, right? Let's go. There's something good for you to see. Upon hearing this, King Ren had a thought and replied, although the house is very nice, it can't compare to the villa we bought. After getting married, take the bride to that house to decorate the new home. All right, let's do it your way, Lin Ke replied cheerfully. Wang Kuai-ping saw the two of them getting ready to leave and asked, wait a minute, what did you buy for Ning Yu? King Ren replied, buy a villa as a dowry for her. Hearing those words, she gasped, huh? A villa? Don't you have too much money and don't know what to spend it on? Buying a villa for her too, it must cost a lot. Lin Ke approached, grabbed her shoulders, and spoke in a low voice. It's really not that much. Mom, don't overthink it. Hearing this, Kuai-ping responded, is it really not that much? Lin Ke replied, it really isn't. We just went up there to take a look, then we'll come down for dinner. Inside a room, laughter echoed continuously. A girl with pink hair holding a pump was inflating a red balloon in front of her. She turned her head and asked, Ning Yu, you're getting married the day after tomorrow. How do you feel now? Upon hearing this, Ning Yu happily replied, I'm extremely stressed right now. I won't be a single girl anymore and can't casually admire handsome guys on the street. I feel a bit at a loss. Ha ha ha. The door to the room suddenly opened and Lin Ke and King Ren walked in. King Ren immediately asked, Ning Yu, how are you preparing? Ning Yu was delighted to see them and rushed over. She asked, brother, sister-in-law, why did you come here? King Ren immediately replied, Mother Wang said you are decorating the wedding room, so you and your partner came here to take a look. This morning, you both went to check out a house for me, and when you brought the bride in, it was to the new house, so there was no need to decorate here anymore. Hearing that, Ning Yu exclaimed in surprise, what? You really bought a new house for me? I'm about to get married. You must have a dowry for me, right? As she spoke, she handed the property ownership certificate to Ning Yu, Yunshan Villa. The two friends in the room were left speechless in astonishment. They hadn't expected this surprise gift. Seeing this, Ning Yu said, "Brother, it must have cost a lot, right?" Hearing this, Lin Ke replied, "You don't have to worry about the money. My sister-in-law chose it for you. You just have to pack your bags and go. You surely understand her taste well enough." Ning Yu said, "Her taste is far better than mine, haha. What are we waiting for, ladies? Let's go to the villa to decorate the room." After hearing Ning Yu's words, the two friends happily replied, "All right." Lin Ke's gaze shifted toward them. Suddenly, his phone rang in his pocket. The voice on the other end said, "Mr. Lin, the company has handled the results. To prevent us from pursuing the matter, the two companies have signed an exclusive agency agreement with us." Hearing that, he replied, "What exactly does that mean?" On the other end of the line, Zhang Yi Li continued, "If we want to buy, they must prioritize us. If we have no demand, then they can sell to others. Having this agreement is equivalent to having an endless reserve for the future situation, and there are many benefits." The next day, in the morning at Ning Yu's house, countless red luxury cars were parked right in front of the door. Inside the car, Kuxia spoke disdainfully. Why does the bride's family not understand why he goes to pick up the bride so far away? If the road is jammed, we won't make it to the ceremony. Hearing this, Hushu Lan, sitting next to her, replied, "I heard that they originally lived in the city, but eventually switched to a villa, so the distance is a bit far." Kuxia said, "A villa, is it necessary to hold a wedding in a villa? I don't get what Kuk Swan he was thinking in choosing such a troublesome wife. After we get inside, I will have to teach her a lesson." Upon hearing this, Hushu Lan continued, "Isn't that girl an orphan? Her job is also unusual. Where does she get the money to rent a villa?" Kuxia replied, "Do I even need to say? She must be using Kuk Swan he's money. It's just giving him face. Why would he find such an unbalanced relationship?" Hushu Lan said, "When we meet later, we need to let her know the rules of the Ku family. We should make sure she understands her identity. Don't think the Ku family will enjoy good fortune." Hushu Lan said smugly. The villa appeared amidst an incredibly magnificent setting. Kuxia was astonished by the scene in front of her and exclaimed, "A luxurious villa like this must cost more than tens of thousands of dollars to rent for a day. This stupid guy is really driving me crazy." Hushu Lan pointed in a direction and nervously said, "Look over there." "What the heck? Isn't that girl an orphan? Whose cars are all those luxury vehicles?" Kuxia was bewildered by the sight before her. Newer, shiny red luxury supercars had shown up. Hushu Lan disdainfully said, "They must be rented." "This is really too much. Do you think the money from the Ku family just fell from the sky? Not only do they have no money, but they also act pretentiously. They are truly a bunch of show-offs." Kuxia replied angrily. A glimmering yellow supercar stopped in a parking spot. The sound of sudden braking echoed. A foot stepped out and Kuk swung. He appeared in a very elegant groom's suit. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, smiling as he greeted, "Big brother, brother Lin, sister-in-law." King Ren responded, "From today on, you're a family man, but you must treat Ning Yu well." Hearing those words, Kuk Swan, he confidently replied, "Of course, sister-in-law, don't worry." King Ren then smiled brightly and said, "Hurry up and get ready to welcome the bride. Don't waste any time." Kuk Swan, he entered the villa, not forgetting to turn back and respond, "I know, sister-in-law." Wu Fei Yao, standing next to Lin Ke, was in tears. Seeing this, King Ren turned back and asked, "Big brother, why are you two crying?" After saying this, he offered a handkerchief to Fei Yao. Hearing the question, Fei Yao replied, "When she first arrived, she was only 1 year old. I watched her grow up day by day. I never thought that in the blink of an eye, she would become a young lady ready to marry someone." From behind, Kin Han appeared. He grasped the shoulders of Fei Yao and Lin Ke and cheerfully said, "Big brother, brother Lin, you two really are just being sentimental." At this moment, Kuk Swan, his two aunts approached. Kuxa, feeling uneasy, spoke up. "Who is that person? Why did Swan he start talking to him as soon as he got out of the car?" Hearing this, Hushu Lan, who was standing beside her, said, "It seems to be the brother of Kuo Ming Yu." Seeing this, both women marched forward decisively. Kuxia confidently said, "Let's go talk to him. Don't think that just because his sister is marrying Swan He, she can act proud later on." Wu Fei Yao noticed them approaching and greeted, "Are these two relatives of the groom's side?" Kuxia replied, "That's right. He is the older brother of Kuo Ning Yu." Upon hearing this, Lin Ke expressed discomfort and asked, "Is there something wrong? You spend so much money on a wedding like this. You must be so pleased, right? The money for renting the villa, the money for renting the cars, you are using the money of the Ku family. Don't you feel any shame? Do you think that because your sister has climbed into the Ku family, the rest of your relatives can just latch on as well?" Kuxia remarked disdainfully. Beside her, Kushu Lan chimed in, let me tell you, as long as there are still sensible people like us here, you won't get a penny from the Ku family. Hearing these people speak like that, Kinhan felt worried, thinking to himself, where do these women come from to speak so unpleasantly? At this moment, Lin Ke responded, are you saying that we use your Ku family's money to rent the villa and rent the supercars? Kuxia replied, of course. Is it your money? Do you think they can afford it? Hearing that, Lin Ke became annoyed and replied, Xuan, he is fine too. But why would there be relatives with intellectual disabilities like you two? This villa was entirely bought with my money, as a dowry for my sister. As for these cars, they belong to my friend from Shanghai who came here for the party. They have nothing to do with your Ku family. Please understand the situation before speaking. Upon hearing this, the two women looked confused. Kuxia shouted, how could you have so much money? Why not? The small change from your Ku family can't even buy my car anymore. You two are accusing my sister of aiming for your Ku family's money. Lin Ke crossed his arms and spoke with an arrogant attitude. At that moment, suddenly a voice was heard. What is everyone doing? This made everyone present turn their attention to the voice. Kushu Lan panicked and asked, Bing Bing, what's going on? He claims he bought this villa and the cars are his friends. Is that true? She pointed directly at him. Hearing that, Ko Bing became irritated and shouted towards the two women in front of him. Of course that's the case. If Lin didn't buy it, would it be yours? Ko Bing immediately bowed her head and spoke. Brother Lin, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for not explaining clearly to them, which led to this embarrassing situation. Hearing this, he smiled and replied, It's okay, the marriage is more important. Is everything still going smoothly? Ko Bing replied, Everything is going very well. The wedding ceremony is about to start. Younger sister, third sister, if you have nothing to do, you can get in the car first. We'll head back to the hotel after it ends. Ko Bing turned to say. Upon hearing this, the two women replied in unison. Okay. The sound of their footsteps echoed. Kushu Lan then said with irritation, This time we can see clearly. What does Kuo Ning Yu's brother do to have so much money? Kuxia replied, How would I know? Kushu Lan said, But so what if he has money? Now that the girl is in our family, everything she is belongs to the Ku family, right? Everything must be submitted. It doesn't matter whether her family is rich or not. Upon hearing this, Kuxia's face was filled with scheming, and she replied, You're right. Everything she has belongs to our Ku family. Ning Yu's dress radiated an ancient elegance. She, along with the groom, stepped outside. Ning Yu couldn't help but shed tears. As footsteps rang out, she rushed to embrace him, crying uncontrollably. Seeing her like that, Lin Ke immediately spoke up. Let's go, I'll lead the way for you, so you can shine on your wedding day. Hearing that, Ning Yu quickly wiped away the tears lingering in her eyes and responded with a bright smile. Yes. In a conference center inside the waiting room, King Ren, standing nearby, asked, Ning Yu, you're done changing. Hurry up and go out. Hearing this, she replied, I know, sister-in-law. At that moment, the door opened, drawing Ning Yu's attention to Kuxia and Kushu Lan as she touched up her makeup. She put on a cheerful expression and said, Ning Yu, this is your younger aunt Xuan He, and this is your third aunt. Upon hearing that, Ning Yu smiled brightly and replied, Younger aunt, third aunt, hello to you both. Kuxia then sat down in a nearby chair, speaking with a tone of contempt. Don't mention it, no need to stand up. We came here to discuss a few matters with you. From now on, you are a member of the Ku family. Since you have some free time, I might as well explain the rules of the Ku family to you. Hearing this, Ning Yu opened her eyes wide in surprise and exclaimed, The rules of the Ku family? Seeing this, Huxia smugly continued, Starting today, you are officially a member of the Ku family. According to the rules of the Ku family, you should hand over what you have. Hand over what I have? Ning Yu asked with a confused expression. Upon hearing this, Kuxia revealed her scheme. She pointed directly at her and said, That's your dowry. Didn't your brother buy you a villa? After the wedding, it'll be transferred to your father-in-law, right? Upon hearing this, King Ren shouted angrily, What do you mean transferred? Kuxia continued, Is that even a question? As a daughter-in-law of the Ku family, you are one of us, so the money naturally belongs to our family. Therefore, transferring the ownership of the house is very normal. Yuan, who was standing next to them, spoke up, We don't care if you are having an affair with our father-in-law, but we are well-bred children and do not do such things. Hearing these words, she became furious, pointed directly at Yuan and angrily said, You little brat, what are you saying? You're young, but have a nasty mouth. Today, I have to slap you to shut you up. Saying this, she raised her hand, ready to rush toward Yuan. A sound of heels echoed as King Ren stepped forward and slapped Kuxia directly in the face. Yuan was somewhat surprised by the scene in front of her. Angrily, she spoke up, I'm telling you all, don't come here and act superior to us. You really have no shame. Do you think we're easy to bully? Hearing these words, Huksa cried out and yelled, "You get someone!" A girl hit someone. What kind of karma has the Ku family created in this life to marry a daughter-in-law like this? It's really an unfortunate family. Not even the most basic of rituals is there. While speaking, she held one side of her reddened cheek from the slap. Seeing this, Yuan smugly replied, "What does that even mean? We have no rituals. If you were to die right now, I guarantee I would give you 2 chrysanthemums to ensure you can leave in peace." Hearing this, Kuksaya angrily gritted her teeth and shouted, You dare to say that? I'm an adult, and a brat like her dares to point and curse at me. How can I even show my face in this world? Oh my god! Jan King Ren grabbed the scissors on the table and threw them right down by Kuxia's feet, boldly saying, "Just die already. Cut your wrist quickly. Don't just talk, otherwise we find it very nauseating." Kuxia seemed to have been hit right in the heart, only daring to whisper, "You?" The door suddenly swung open. First came the father of Swan Hiku, followed by her nephews, all with frowns of displeasure. Kuxia rushed over to complain like a naughty child caught doing something wrong but unwilling to take the blame. She pointed at the group of Jai King Ren, holding her cheek that had been slapped, saying, "Brother, look, this is the daughter-in-law you brought home. Look at my swollen face from her hitting me," and she scolded me with so many hurtful words. What Kuxia said was truly harsh. Yuan couldn't take it anymore, pushed herself up and shouted, "Then just don't get married anymore. Do you think Ning Yu is afraid of you just because she came from an orphanage? You all are thinking too much." Seeing the situation was becoming unclear, her boyfriend spoke up and asked Yuan, what exactly happened? Yuan immediately clarified the audacity of the 2 ugly women. Just now, these 2 came in wanting Ning Yu to transfer the title of the villa to her father-in-law. She said it's all property of the Ku family. After hearing the story, the father of Swan Hiku angrily turned and scolded, "Did you 2 say that?" The anger from the elder brother was similar to the anger from the parents. Kuxia and Kushu Lan, terrified, honestly replied, "We just thought of the Ku family. That's why we came here to teach her about etiquette." They thought the answer they gave would yield sweet fruits, but the result they received was 2 slaps to the face. Mr. Cook Swan, he angrily shouted at them, "From now on, the Ku family has no relations with you. Get out of here." He warned with a brief but furious command, "Leave." Returning to the wedding, the MC was still passionately hosting the event. He pointed towards the stage and said, "Please give a round of applause to welcome the bride and groom into the ceremony." The young couple walked into the ceremony arm in arm, receiving blessings from the guests. Their faces were filled with happiness. As Lin Ke was clapping Toju Fu, the young couple, the secretary beside him gently spoke up, "Mr. Lin, the Dong County has already started the groundbreaking. I need to prepare a news article. Do you have time recently?" Lin Ke turned to ask, "Do you want to make a promotional piece?" The secretary replied directly, "Yes, for a big event like this, a promotional piece would be good. It could attract more people." Considering the plan, Lin Ke rested his chin on his hand and thought, why not let Xiao Yan handle this interview? To avoid the same mistake as last time when a useless journalist asked all the wrong questions. After meticulously organizing his plan in his mind, he nodded. "Okay, then I'll participate in the interview as a representative. Remember to clearly explain the situation in Dong County. I will arrange for media coverage with approval from the superiors." The secretary smiled. "Yes, I'll wait for Mr. Lin's arrangements." The next day, in the luxurious villa, Jig King Ren and Lin Ke stood side by side, greeting Lin Ke's parents. "Mom Wang, Uncle Zhao, we're leaving now. New Year's Day is in a few days. We will come to visit everyone then." Jack King Ren's concern moved Mom Wang. She took her hand and comforted her. "This year you don't need to come. You work your last year. This year, come to my house. It's just me there, and I got plenty here. Missing one child won't matter. It should be fair." She burst into tears at this boundless maternal love, hugging Mom Wang and gratefully saying, "Then we will go. Please take good care of yourself." At the international airport, Lin Ke seriously discussed matters with a partner over the phone. "Xiao Yan, do you have time tonight? Want to go out for a drink?" In the distance, Jig King Ren's voice echoed, "I've finished the boarding procedures." He ignored her call to focus on the conversation at hand. He continued, "Recently, our company has launched a new project. It's almost finished now. We want to find someone to do the publicity work. Can your company take this on?" Xiao Yan received the call and felt excited. She twirled a lock of hair in her hand, blushing as she said, "Of course, I can take on this work." Then she added sweetly, "There is a social meeting tonight. I previously invested in a movie, so I have connections with this person. I'll contact you when I'm done." Jack King Ren, standing next to her, quickly replied, "Okay, then call me back later." Upon returning to their home while treating Lin Ke's old wound, she frowned at him with worry and pouted, saying, "I do admire you. In such cold weather, you went hunting in the Kingdom Mountains, and besides getting darker, you got shot too. I have nothing more to say." He didn't dare tell Jai King Ren the truth, and could only wriggle out with a lie. "Ha! I also feel quite unlucky to have gone through something like this." With her skill abilities, Lin Ke quickly smiled and changed the topic. "A couple of days ago, I saw a news report about someone encountering a tiger at Changbai Mountain in the northeast, and I felt a bit comforted." Hearing Lin Ke speak, Jai King Ren felt helpless. She held the roll of tape in her hand and sighed, saying, "People like you should reflect a bit when there's nothing to do. After all, what shady business are you involved in? How come with such a low probability of encountering something like this, you still manage to experience it?" The animalistic urge within him surged again. He grasped Jai King Ren's waist and held her chin. He caressed her and smiled, saying, "Because to meet you, I have used up all my lifetime's luck. Not just now, but perhaps I'll face misfortune for the rest of my life." Women always succumb to sweet words from men, and Jai King Ren was no exception. She kissed Lin Ke's cheek and said, "When you're charming, you're really lovable." After finishing the first aid on the wound, she waved at Lin Ke and said, "You play by yourself for a bit. I have to go back to the company to work overtime." After Jai King Ren left, Lin Ke opened the garden door. He stood by the garden, looking over to the next house, and thought to himself, "The Wang's house seems too quiet now." Suddenly, the phone rang. He picked it up and immediately said excitedly, "Are you calling me now to discuss the 10 billion business project?" On the other end of the line, Xiao Yan, tipsy and elegant, spoke in a seductive voice. "No need to rush the business talk. I had a bit too much to drink. The new Paris Grand Hotel. Can you come pick me up?" Hearing the sounds of vomiting on the other end, Lin Ke, worried about her health, immediately replied, "Then I'll come to pick you up right away." At the new Paris Grand Hotel, due to drinking too much, Xiao Yan felt dizzy. She blushed and stood up. "I'm sorry, everyone. I'm really embarrassed. My boyfriend has come to pick me up. I'm afraid I'll have to take my leave today, but I will organize another gathering sometime so we can meet again." Before she could leave the table, Xiao Yan was stopped by a man. In a deep voice, he said, "Wait a moment." The owner of that deep voice was Chen Ke, vice president of Yanjing Love Film Group. Seeing Xiao Yan drunk, he realized this was the easiest opportunity to approach her. He smiled slyly and said, "It's just begun, and why is the leader leaving early? If you go now, it will be difficult to discuss this further." He continued, "Recently, aren't you investing in a new film? We can talk about the premiere later. I'm sure the return on investment for the project won't be low." Xiao Yan gently declined Shen Ke's invitation. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Chen. My boyfriend is truly boring. Today, I can only apologize." Not giving Xiao Yan a chance to escape, he immediately pointed to the bottle of wine and challenged her. "Director Yan, even if you're in a hurry, you should wait a few minutes. There's still half a bottle of wine on the table. You can finish it and leave later." Pushed to the limit, Xiao Yan gritted her teeth. She grabbed the bottle of wine and gulped down each sip as if she had never had a drink before. After finishing the entire bottle, she exerted herself to say, "Mr. Chen, the wine is all gone now. I'm leaving first, otherwise my boyfriend will have to wait too long." Chen Ke quickly grabbed Xiao Yan's shoulders. His touch made her uncomfortable. Not letting Xiao Yan go, he continued speaking. "Don't rush. Let me have the waiter bring you some juice to sober up. The movie you invested in is set to be released next year. You'll need to go out for a drink then. No need to pretend." The words coming out of Chen Ke's mouth made her unable to hold back any longer. She turned and slapped his chubby cheek hard and yelled, "What are you doing? I'm not that type of easy woman." Chen Ke, angry, narrowed his eyes and insulted Xiao Yan. "Don't be so unreasonable. Do you think I won't dare to do anything to you? Let me tell you, from today onwards, don't even think." Before he could finish speaking, Chen Ke was kicked down, rolling on the floor like a pig. Lin Ke angrily looked at Chen Ke and shouted, "Who do you think you are threatening?" Xiao Yan's face lit up when he saw him. "Lin Ke." Chen Ke, seemingly unafraid, yelled at Lin Ke while still on the ground, "You dare to hit me? Do you believe I can have someone stab you to death?" Lin Ke was not afraid and threatened Chen Ke back. "Go ahead and call them. I'm curious how many people you can summon." Another investor saw Chen Ke getting hit and rushed over to help him up. Conveniently, this person advised Chen Ke, "Mr. Chen, stop talking. This person is not someone you can mess with. Just apologize." The investor whispered to Chen Ke, "He is Mr. Lin of Ling Yun Group, worth over $100 billion. You are no match for him." Hearing the value of the person in front of him, Chen Ke trembled and said, "What? Worth over $100 billion. He quickly knelt down to apologize to Lin Ke. "Mr. Lin, I was in the wrong. I didn't know she was your girlfriend. I hope you can give me another chance." After that, Chen Ke slammed his head down and continued, "Wait until her movie comes out in theaters. We will definitely do our best. I mean what I say." Lin Ke could not accept this apology. He said sternly, "Don't talk about yourself. Even if your boss meets me, he must bow his head. Why do you need to arrange anything?" Xiao Yan was protected behind him, and Lin Ke couldn't help but blush, thinking to himself, "This is true capital, crushing you without needing to reason." Chen Ke was so scared that he hugged Lin Ke's leg and begged, "Mr. Lin, we truly know we were wrong. Please give us another chance. We won't dare do this again." Not wanting to dirty his legs, Lin Ke kicked Chen Ke away and shouted, "Get lost." Then he hugged the beautiful Xiao Yan and smugly said, "Let's go." He left Chen Ke behind, collapsing and crying, "Phew." In the parking garage, Xiao Yan gently said, "I'm sorry for bothering you." Lin Ke was indeed a family man. He didn't blame her, but instead took care of her. He handed medicine to Xiao Yan and said, "Take this, you'll feel better soon." Xiao Yan mischievously winked and said, "It's fine. Mainly, I pretended to be drunk because I wanted to leave." In response to this mischievous Xiao Yan, Lin Ke simply smiled, "You are quite clever." Lin Ke drove out of the parking lot. Taking the opportunity, Xiao Yan asked, "Where do you want to arrange the interview? At Ling Young Group or the factory in Dong County?" Lin Ke seriously replied, "Let's do it at the factory. It's mainly to promote our industrial park. However, it would also be convenient for you to visit Dong County to see how dramatically it has changed. There's also a report on local changes to attract investors." Xiao Yan covered her mouth with her hand, teasing Lin Ke. "I do know a bit about the situation in Dong County. The poverty alleviation efforts are being actively implemented, and Director Lin's contributions are quite significant." Lin Ke smiled and said, "It's nothing much." Then he remembered something and turned to ask Xiao Yan, "Give her the phone number later. His name is Kai Xian Zhao. Just tell him the specific time." Xiao Yan teased Lin Ke back. "Ha! I just gave you a compliment and you already changed the subject." Lin Ke continued as he drove the car around a curve. "By the way, tomorrow is Christmas. I have a gift for you." Lin Ke handed Xiao Yan a secret document bag. She was surprised to accept it and asked, "Do I have a part two?" He just smiled and said, "My greatest strength is treating people fairly. Having done business with me this much, you definitely deserve a share." Xiao Yan held the folder and opened it. She read the paper in her hand and exclaimed, "Real estate." Lin Ke continued to drive, saying, "This room has a view of the river. The location and the view are very nice, but it hasn't been renovated yet, so you can decide what to renovate yourself. If you don't have enough money for the renovation, just come and talk to me." Xiao Yan held the folder in her hand, stuck out her tongue like a little goblin at Lin Ke, and excitedly said, "Is it really that easy to get a room? It seems like I got a great deal." Lin Ke still remained serious, focused on driving. "It's okay, it's not expensive." But how could the person next to him be serious like that? Taking advantage of the moment while he was driving, she wrapped her arms around him and leaned against Lin Ke's chest, seductively saying, "Since everything is going well, should I show a little appreciation for the expenses I've caused you?" Lin Ke did not refuse and replied, "I think your suggestion is quite good." Lin Ke leaned down and kissed Xiao Yan on the lips, then said, "Since we've talked about it, it would be a shame not to do something." After the sweet kiss ended, Xiao Yan quickly removed the cumbersome outfit she was wearing and said to Lin Ke, "Knowing you would want it anyway, I've been prepared for a long time." Curious about this girl, Lin Ke chuckled softly and asked, "Prepared for what?"